Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's session, Demystifying the Misconceptions of Digital Experience Platforms. My name is Gina Garms, and I am the Vice President of Marketing for DXP, which is a cloud native digital experience platform. And joining me is Forrester Senior Analyst Joe Sisman. So, our goals for today's session are three. We are going to be explaining the role DXPs play in supporting today's customer experience journey. We're going to be creating an understanding of how an effective DXP enables engaging digital experiences. And third, and perhaps most important, is we're going to be differentiating between the myths and the realities of DXPs themselves. To get us started, interest in DXPs is accelerating, as evidenced by a 300% increase in the search term from November 2020 through November 2021, as well as a forecasted market growth of 80% by 2024. And much of this growth is driven by marketers who are looking to overcome the limitations of their existing content management systems and keep up with the changing consumer behaviors. But as interest is growing, so is the confusion and myths that are surrounding the DXPs. And that is why we have Joe Sisman here with us today. He is going to be sharing his expertise in the digital experience technology space to help us go through those, what those myths are and the realities of them. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Joe.
I haven't slipped on ice in 35 years. By day, I'm Joe Sisman, Senior Analyst with Forrester Research. But in the evenings and weekends, I'm Joe Sisman, the BMX rider. Riding bikes like this takes a lot of balance. And when I'm competing, I'm judged on how innovative and difficult my tricks are. When I build my own bikes, I select each part, and sometimes I even modify those parts. But I also practice a lot. And my coach is a 3-time X Games champ. So there's no amount of money a beginner can spend on their parts to outride me. Now, it's similar with delivering digital experiences. You won't get to where you need to be if you spend money on technology without comparable investment in skill building and a network of expert partners. Being great takes training to not lose your balance. That balance between what your customers want and what your firm values. Having digital skills is important because the new connected consumer poses a challenge for brands. And digital business pros like you need to understand how your customers connect across 3 dimensions: devices, platforms, and channels, and map your portfolio of experiences so that your presence where your customers are. And that's not a trivial endeavor. Customer journeys are not simple, and brands aren't in control of how the customer goes through that journey. Your digital experience platform is how you build experiences to support buyer journeys that are nonlinear and in the buyer's control. And the talent you employ to build those journeys, your practitioners, well, they need flexibility built into their tools because they don't have time to constantly rely on developers. Now, this isn't just about better employee experience. Great customer experience leads to business growth. This is the formula behind Forrester's CX index, which quantifies the business benefit of having a loyal customer. It calculates the potential revenue from improved retention, enrichment, and advocacy loyalty. So, for example, customers with excellent experiences have a higher likelihood to recommend and to recommend to many more people. Getting customer experience right leads to loyalty, which is retention, enrichment, and advocacy, and that drives business growth. No one could have predicted the disruption caused by COVID. And these types of situations are unpredictable, and we're seeing no end to geopolitical disruption. And on top of that, we're seeing tremendous innovation from disruptive brands, which set new, higher expectations in consumers' minds. So to adapt, you need modern technology and methods for the unpredictable market conditions that are simply a part of life now. So, what exactly is a digital experience platform? Well, Forrester defines it as a platform that provides the architectural foundation and modular services for developers and practitioners to create, orchestrate, and optimize digital journeys at scale to drive loyalty and new commerce outcomes across owned and third-party channels. So let's break that down. First, architectural foundation, because there is tremendous innovation in the ecosystem, and plugging into that is essential for today's digital businesses. An emphasis on developers and practitioners, because Task-focused, frictionless digital experiences inspire customers to reach their journey goals. So it's high time the experience builders themselves levy those expectations on their vendors because the benefits are the same. Streamlined tools allow practitioners to maintain focus on crafting digital interactions that lead to differentiated customer outcomes. So those practitioners work across a range of technology solutions. In fact, Forrester distills digital experiences down to four solutions, starting at the top: understanding the customer with data, creating the experience with content, tailoring that experience to fit the context with marketing, and finally delivering value with commerce. Compared to siloed solutions, these modern unified DX platforms have better tools to help content authors, merchandisers, marketers, and other practitioners manage digital experiences. How advanced does an enterprise need to be in terms of digital maturity to pull off the work required to deploy these omni-channel digital experiences? Well, it turns out that businesses at an advanced stage of digital maturity are more likely to grow revenue year over year. So, just shy of one-fifth of North American companies are at an advanced stage of digital maturity. And of those, 53% grew revenues 10% or greater during the first year of the pandemic when we were at peak disruption. So there's payoff to being highly mature, but not everyone has those skills right now. So if you're not at an advanced stage of digital maturity, it's important that you select technology that's packaged in a way that's simple for you to use. So you're looking at a summary of what businesses were doing with the investment they made in digital. And those that were already advanced, well, they were investing in themselves to improve the IT capabilities that they need for agility and innovation. And point number two was to get better at operations. Now, that is in stark contrast to the beginners that focused on tactical things like reducing costs. Having one stack as the foundation, you can build cross-functional teams or squads in agile speak and add and plan missions that bring contributors closer together. So to accomplish this, follow these best practices. Number one, target key moments in your customer's journey. So understanding digital influenceable moments is critical to any experience strategy. Number two, select a mix of metrics that encourages shared outcomes. So marketers often fall back on conversion metrics and are sometimes blinded by these, and they buy tools that either don't play nice with others or they don't fit architecturally into the DX stack. Meanwhile, tech leaders find comfort in system level measures like orders processed or uptime, but they may forget what's important to practitioners. Number three, explore worlds where rich media content drives engagement. So marketers often utilize video in their consumer campaigns. These content capabilities are a natural crossover between the worlds of creative and code, and where the MarTech and DX crowds may first meet up. Number four, think holistically about data and how you use it to align with customer needs. So content targeting, customer profiles, and optimization of product experiences are all front and center for most practitioners. Yet many teams still have to unwind product line thinking and focus instead on journeys and end-to-end experiences. And finally, attach experience efforts to commerce conversations. So unless experiences convert to orders, upsells, or referrals, you'll miss out. So frame conversions in the broadest sense and not just in the funnel, but also at checkout. And when digital leaders do that, it helps them to better enable developer and practitioner agility through modern infrastructure. Firms often ask developers to support more and more channels and brands. And when they leverage a common architecture, they gain agility and velocity. And when coupled with the right tools and insights, practitioners can operate consistently across channels with less effort. As you select the technology you need for high impact digital interactions, be smart about what you do and what you let others do for you. Look to the ecosystem for partners with capabilities that they are motivated to continuously improve. Firms like agile firms like Goldman Sachs have industrialized their approach to innovation through ecosystems to outsource for speed and co-innovation, orchestrate for agility and differentiation, and to operate for insights and resilience. And yes, in case you were wondering, the antelope is in fact literally outsourcing bug fixes. So, as both an analyst and a longtime BMX rider, I can assure you, you are not alone in taking this ambitious journey. Every master started as a beginner, and they made gradual, continuous improvement. So, work on your game, work on your skills, and remember, you've gone through big changes before. It's just like riding a bike. So, thank you. Now, Gina and I are going to do some myth busting.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Okay. So we have a couple of the kind of like key myths that we've just been seeing a lot about out in the marketplace that we're going to be talking a little bit about today. So, Joe, our first myth is DXPs are synonymous with content management systems.
It's not synonymous. I would say the need for DXP evolved out of conventional content management systems. In fact, many today are anchored on content, but you need more than just content to deliver customer journeys that are relevant, that are personalized, that are in the right channel, and that are in the right moment. So the graphic here that we're looking at is Forrester's digital experience reference architecture. It has content and data and support for transactions. And the experience block is the orchestration layer where content is tailored to the customer's context.
Got it. And can you tell us a little bit more about, what some of those needs are that marketers are experiencing that are developed that have led to the development of the DXP?
Yeah, so a lot of that is, well, if you're going to do content targeting, you want to know your audience. So you need not just kind of that static or non-volatile CRM data, but you may need like recent interaction data or like recent as in just a few clicks before. So all that generally goes into like a CDP, and you can make decisions on that at runtime. Um, and that's something that traditional content management systems just had no idea about. The other thing you need to do is be able to consume signals from maybe your call center, right? So those are customer interactions that may not be happening on that CMS, and that's why you have to take a broader approach or broader view of DXP, far broader than just how you manage content.
Got it. And then tell us a little bit more how DXPs are aiding in facilitating experiences, across channels and how that differs for companies who are continuing to use kind of like that traditional content management system setup.
Yeah, so sometimes this is referred to as like headless. Um, if we go to a website and we get content, right? We that website is serving that up. But if we walk into um, retail location and there's digital signage, that's
Mhm.
not a web browser. Or if we have some type of a piece of content on our smartwatch, well, that also um, isn't a web browser. And so these uh, this headless content needs to deliver content across a variety of touch points. And in fact, it has to be able to do that type of content delivery to touch points that don't that might not even exist right now. And so there's sort of this future proofing um, approach. And that's why you really can't take traditional CMS, because traditional CMS was built really for one channel, which was the web browser. Or maybe they would also do it with mobile. But touch points are the number of touch points are exploding. And so you can't be bound to just one like one web browser.
Got it. And I would say with that too, and hopefully you can expand on this a little bit, is from a lot of the different reports and what have I been reading, it's just also for those who are using that traditional CMS, the complexity that is coming out of trying to put all of these different pieces and tools together to enable them to be able to deliver across all these channels. Are DXPs helping to eliminate that complexity and streamline that process?
Oh, sure, because they're built for a world of multiple channels, and they're built to they're designed to support multiple channels. Whereas if you go back, these traditional CMSs, maybe they were designed for one channel or two channels. Some of them were, let's say, hard coded for those channels. That's just not a world that we live in anymore. And so that tech that was built then just is ill fit for today.
Got it. Okay. Moving on to our next myth. So all DXPs are created equally, or the concept that DXPs are a one size fits all.
Now, there certainly are some all-in-one DXPs out there that go to market as being a fit for a wide range of businesses. But the reality is that's just how they market themselves. When Forrester clients bring me their shortlist, I often see two types of vendors on that list. That's what we're looking at here on this slide. When I ask my clients the five whys of what motivated that mix of vendor options, it very often comes down to whether my client, the tech buyer, has the technology chops right now to buy piece parts and compose their own DXP, or if they don't have those technology chops right now, but they also don't want to box themselves in the future. So they're looking for optionality in an all-in-one that they can possibly at one point in the future break apart and recompose with some best of breed components.
Got it. And when you talk about the technology chops, bringing that back to what you were saying earlier about digital maturity, are those correlated, and does that help drive kind of like what decision you want to make when you're looking at whether you go with the all-in-one DXP or the composable DXP? Like how does that all fit together?
Yeah, so some of it is well, the metaphor I like to use is you're not going to be a great golfer just by buying the most expensive golf club. In fact, it'll possibly make your game worse. So how that translates into technology, one, you need the skills in the technology teams to take advantage of this headless stuff, this composable stuff. But really, that gives you flexibility that your business should be taking advantage of. And so if your business model is static, if you're not experimenting, then uh, there's kind of not a whole lot of need for flexibility on the tech. And so you have to, let's say, all the lessons that you got from doing agile technology, you can apply those to being agile at business. And so that's really when those are really the two sides of the coin that, let's say, operationally, when you are operating your business with agility to seize opportunities, to experiment, you absolutely need that tech. You're not going to get the payoff for the tech if you're running sort of annual planning cycles as a business.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And then so we're going to move on to our next myth as well. So it is this concept that DXPs are monoliths.
Yeah. So first off, monolith is a pejorative term. It's used as a pejorative term, and there's a lot of these new school vendors who are using that to differentiate themselves from the old legacy tech. Now, the myth of DXPs as monoliths,
Mhm.
it's not universally true. However, some absolutely are. But there are two ways in which something can be deemed a monolith. And so the first way that people think about monoliths is architecturally, and that's what we're looking at here. So is the code tightly coupled? Um, Lots of bad things happen with architectural monoliths. In fact, not even the vendors themselves can effectively work on them anymore. And you can see that by looking at those vendors' release notes rather than just their roadmaps. Now, a microservices architecture, the good stuff, that lets you be versionless. So you never have the need to upgrade. You never have to make that choice between spending money on an upgrade versus spending money on some type of innovation. The updates just happen seamlessly. Now, this architecture gives the vendor much greater velocity. They can enhance the solution much more frequently, and you, the business, can do your dev work on the platform faster. Now, there is a second way that people think about monoliths, and that is in how the solution is packaged. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at that. Now, I don't necessarily agree that monolith is the correct word for all-in-one packaging, but I want to talk to you about it today because you're going to encounter it, and I need you to be able to recognize and challenge. So there are modern microservices-based all-in-one DXPs that are just easier to buy and use than the alternative, which is sourcing multiple piece parts from multiple vendors and composing them. So again, the myth that DXPs are monoliths
Mhm.
is not universally true, and that truth is nuanced.
Okay, got it. And then with that being said, what is the adoption trend of kind of that concept of the all-in-one DXP versus the composable DXP?
I find that companies at a higher uh, stage of digital maturity go the compose route. I find that businesses at a lower, at the beginning stages of digital maturity, go the all-in-one route,
Mhm.
and that's because their needs are more typical or more pervasive. They may not have developed an innovative business strategy that requires so much agility and so many really differentiated experiences. And so, another way to say that is they can get away with the all-in-one DXPs because they don't have a business model that demands anything more.
Got it. Okay. No, that's very helpful. Thank you. Okay, going on to our next myth. When selecting a DXP, you must trade off making marketers happy or developers happy.
Yeah, this happened a lot as the headless players came onto the scene. The developers loved these headless players, but those developers very often forgot that they needed to build the tooling that worked for their marketers. So, in response to this, many of the headless players are starting to invest more and more in practitioner tools and in making those practitioner tools customizable. So, if you have a smaller content operations team, you can have a set of tooling that fits those workflows. If you have a much larger, federated, global editorial team, you just made it. You may need tools that look different because your workflows are different. And so that's what's important about having practitioner tools that are customizable. Now, they will use the same UX technology that they would use, for example, to make PWAs for customers. So when I look at these new modern DXPs that were built cloud native in the past few years, they are the ones doing a good job of providing tools to marketers while at the same time being modern under the covers so that devs like them too.
Got it. And with that, you talk about a lot of the new entrants into the DXP space over the last few years. Is there any sort of added risk by selecting one of these vendors versus a partner who's been, around, you know, a significantly longer period of time?
No, there's no added risk. In fact, what you're doing is you're taking risk out of your equation. So if you are running, let's say, and this is it is important to look not just at the age of the vendor, but also the age of the technology. Older technology, uh, a lot of that older technology was built pre-cloud, and the way people build software now on cloud, very very different, and the rate at which they can evolve that software in the cloud is orders of magnitude greater than the old stuff. And so what you're doing is you're getting on a train, and you're either getting on an older, slower train that's farther ahead, or you're getting on a faster train that maybe doesn't have all of the capabilities. But you're in this for the long term, and you want to go with the partner that has the greater velocity, and that is those newer technologies because they will absolutely lap the older tech. And again, you can see that by looking at their release notes. You can see how many new features they're releasing uh,
Mhm.
every month, and it's phenomenal. As an analyst, um, it is remarkable how much faster these new platforms are and how they're evolving so much faster.
Got it, Joe. Thank you. So, one more final question, because I know we're coming up on time here. Um, For those marketers who are exploring digital experience platforms right now, whether moving from a content management system to a DXP or between DXPs, what piece of advice do you have for them?
Um, I would say, as you look to purchase these things, do not go the old school RFP route by issuing, 400 line RFPs. Instead, be agile, do a scenario based set of POCs, have your teams and your agencies get their hands on this new stuff and see what you can accomplish in 2 or 3 sprints. So these more modern DXPs enable that type of buying, and that you will be buying demonstrated code versus buying, off of static PowerPoint slides. It will make a world of difference.
Nope, that makes absolute complete sense. You get a chance to test it and try it and see how it all works before you sign on any sort of dotted lines. So perfect. Joe, thank you so much. I have so many more questions for you, but unfortunately, we are limited on time today. Thank you for sharing your expertise and helping us through parse the realities and the myths and the realities of DXPs. So thank you for your time. And for everyone who joined us, thank you so much for your time as well. We hope that you found the information presented today to be helpful as you explore DXPs and the value that they can bring to your organization. A copy of today's presentation is available for download in the Dig Deeper section of your viewer console. And with that, thanks again and have a great rest of your day.